Prime Minister Mark Carney says a bail reform bill targeting violent and repeat offenders is coming next week.
At City Hall today, a school safety summit taking place. Concerned parents meeting with the mayor and traffic safety experts, while the province is preparing to ban speed cameras.
And we're live in Seattle, where the Jays are getting ready for Game 4 of their American League Championship Series against the Mariners after dominating Game 3 last night.
This is Live at 5.
Hello, I'm Arda Zakarian.
And I'm Andrew Brennan. Welcome to Live at 5.
After a much-needed win in Seattle last night, the Blue Jays look to even up their playoff series with the Mariners tonight.
Yeah, CP24's Melissa Duggan joining us live from Seattle with more on this Game 4 of the ALCS. Melissa, I got confused there. I thought we were going to get that montage of rock and roll music to start you off, but you're going to have to be the rock and roller tonight.
I will try to deliver. All right. The pressure is on. Just like the pressure that the Jays have been facing. Of course, they walked away with a massive win last night. Keeping their winning streak here in Seattle alive, what they had in the regular season, now carrying over into the postseason just in time. We know that the Mariners took the first 2 games of this series. The Jays now looking to tie things up in the ALCS tonight. First pitch is at 8:33 p.m. Toronto time. What are we seeing here? Well, the roof is open. That is one thing. So that's a repeat from yesterday. A bright and sunny start to the game is what you can expect. We're watching the Mariners getting in some exercise right now. A little bit later on, we're going to see the Jays doing some serious batting practice. Also hearing from some of the players, some of the management talking to media. One of the first members of the baseball contingent here today to address reporters is Dan Wilson, the manager of the Seattle Mariners, talking about what his players have been dealing with when it comes to Jays pitching in the past. Here's what he has to say.
They put up good at bats, throughout, and last night was no exception. They play hard for 9 innings, even in a one-sided game, and some really good at bats late. So, I think again, what we do as a club offensively is really tells the story and. Good at bats, grind them out at bats, and getting base runners on base, creating a little pressure on the defense, and being able to drive the ball in the gaps. Sometimes it goes out of the ballpark, and we were able to do that last night.
Now, someone who is not going to be on the field tonight, that is Bo Bichette. Of course, we know that he is not in the ALCS, is still dealing with an injury to his left knee after a collision that he experienced at home plate last month in New York. We did see him out on the field this afternoon doing some running drills. We know he's been hitting, that he has been throwing the ball, but it seems to be the running that's the issue right now. Sometimes he's been slow when we've watched him kind of moving throughout the field. Today seemed to be picking up the pace when we saw him at T-Mobile Park not too long ago. So getting some more movement in there. The Jays want to get more wins under their belt. They're looking ahead to the World Series. Would Bo Bichette be eligible to join the team once again if that were to happen? The superstar shortstop just had a stellar season this year. You could expect that the team would like him back in the lineup. But the team excelling right now without him. 13-4, the final score last night. The Jays bats were red hot. 5 home runs is what they managed to bat in. Hopefully they've got some more of that heat left for tonight. Jays fans going to be piling in here later on. There's so many that were out here yesterday. They want to see the Jays make this series 2-2 after the game wraps up later on tonight. Game 5, Andrew and Arda, that is going to take place here in Seattle at 6:08 p.m. Toronto time. So make sure you make a note of that because you don't want to miss a second of that exciting baseball. Max Scherzer, he's got the first pitch for the Jays. He's going to be on the mound, the 41-year-old future Hall of Famer, has plenty of experience in the postseason. We want to see him activate here tonight. Back to you.
Let's keep up that momentum. We're looking forward to it.
Making that note right now. Making that note. There was just a note.
Thank you so much for that, Melissa. And here at home, fans are happy about the win, but keeping it in perspective.
Bieber pitched a really good game. I'm just a little bit so obviously anxious about the fact that they have to win have to win one more there at 1 out of 2. So I'm a little anxious about what's going to go on. I'm glad the bats came alive.
I find it kind of concerning, like, they sucked a few days ago and all of a sudden they come out the blocks and just absolutely destroyed Seattle. And I don't know, it's nice to see. I'm impartial, I'm not really a big baseball guy. So it's just nice to see, people happy, going to bars and just like, a bit of community spirit.
So let's get into the rush hour community spirit with Adjoa.
Community spirit. I wouldn't call it that. I can't say what I want to call it on the air. But if you're making your way out, patience is what you're going to need. A couple of problems impacting the drive on the 401 westbound. So westbound on the 401, traveling in the express through Bathurst, we're dealing with a multi-vehicle collision. Does have the left lane blocked. Now, that wasn't bad enough. If you're sticking with the express, which you shouldn't, stick with the collectors. Further along, westbound 401 on the approach to the 410, collision might have cleared because MTO zooming out their cameras, but there was a collision approaching the 410. This is why it's so slow in the express. It was the 2 left lanes that were blocked, and this is the reason why traffic, because of both of these issues, pretty busy but improving because drivers just bailing off the 401 from about Warden. Northbound on the 427 and southbound for that matter, pretty busy between the Gardner and the 401, and shades are a must if you're on the Gardner westbound trying to get out of the downtown core. Sunshine blinding the drive as well as delays as you head from Jarvis all the way out towards Grand. On city streets, just one problem. It's a collision on Dundas and Euclid. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Thanks very much, Adjoa. And as we're talking about traffic, there's also the flip side of things, the safety regarding cars on the road. And at City Hall today, a summit was being held to address safety around schools, particularly in school zones. And the Ford government, by the way, is going to table legislation, according to its transportation minister, to get rid of speed cameras next week, the first week of the fall session.
And for more on this, we're going to our Sija Lu, who is in Scarborough. Sija, what more can you tell us?
Well, Arda, Andrew, with the province planning to table that legislation to ban speed cameras very soon next week, the city is moving fast, and they held a urgent summit today on school zone safety. And their message today was for Doug Ford to keep the speed cameras, that it puts school children at risk. It was joined by a lot of people. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow was there, city councillors, parents, advocates, experts, researchers from Sick Kids, a number of people, all with that message wanting the Ford government to stop their ban of speed cameras. They say it reduces speeding, it prevents accidents, and keeps communities safe, especially in the 800-plus school zones in Toronto. They also point to the data from experts, including a recent study by Sick Kids and TMU that found speed cameras in school zones cut speeding by 45%. And everyone's message today was clear. They say speeding kills, even if it's just 10 or 20 kilometers over, that it can make a life or death difference. Here's more from the project manager with Toronto Transportation and a group called Parents Against Speeding.
If you're traveling at 30 kilometers an hour, for example, there's a 10% likelihood that you could be killed, a pedestrian could be killed if they were hit by a car. If you look at 50 kilometers an hour, that goes to 85%. So I know that there's been some comments out there that, it's okay or people shouldn't be getting a ticket for doing 10 or 50 and over the limit. I wanted to point out the danger of that statement.
We're shocked and appalled by the potential prospect of having the speed safety camera program near schools dismantled. We know that it is one of the tools in our toolbox to keep kids safe. We know that speeding is one of the leading causes of fatalities. We know that car crashes are the number one source of injury-related death for children. So this is one of the tools that we have that can keep our most vulnerable Torontonians, Ontarians safe. So that is why we're organizing to defend it.
And on top of the ban, the province plans to fund alternative measures when it comes to slowing down drivers, such as adding roundabouts, speed bumps, flashing lights. But parents and advocates, city councilors, city staff say that these alternatives aren't the right solution when it comes to speeding down drivers. Meantime, the province is still standing firm on its plan to ban speed cameras. We heard from the transportation minister today, who said they plan to table that legislation sometime next week. So that's why, Andrew and Arda, this was called a urgent summit on school zone safety, with some possible changes coming very shortly here.
And that's Sija Liu talking to us about this potential issue to come from Scarborough. Thank you, Sija. And as Sija was mentioning right there, there was an announcement from the Transportation Minister, Pravmeet Sarkaria, today. The government is, he says, moving forward with their plan to remove all speed cameras.
We introduce legislation next week with respect to the speed cameras and repeal of that legislation. So we will be moving forward on that, as well as ensuring that we're working with municipalities and a fund that will ensure and support traffic calming measures moving forward as well. So we remain committed to that, and introduction of that piece of legislation will happen next week when we're back in the legislature.
It's 5:10 right now, 15 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And the Prime Minister says a bail reform bill is coming targeting repeat and violent offenders. We'll speak with the criminal defense lawyer next on what this could mean.
Welcome back. York Regional Police have released dramatic video of a jewelry store robbery in Newmarket. Take a look.
Look at that. You can see in that video 5 masked suspects, and they were armed with hammers, entering a store in the Upper Canada Mall. This 5:30 roughly yesterday afternoon. The display cases you were seeing there just being smashed to pieces with hammers. Duffel bags being filled with jewelry. Now, when the group ran out of the store, police say they were confronted by a security guard. We're also told the suspects used pepper spray on security and took off in a white SUV.
Officers spotted the vehicle heading southbound on Highway 404. They've stopped the vehicle on Steeles Avenue, where the suspects attempted to run away. 4 out of 5 of them were arrested with the help from the K9 and air support units. 18-year-old Kareem Hanif of Toronto, as well as 2 16-year-olds and a 15-year-old are charged with robbery with a weapon, assault with a weapon, and possessing property obtained by crime.
Now, there is still one suspect on the loose. Police say that this person managed to get away from them. They're believed to be between 16 and 20 years old at the time of the robbery, wearing all black and a black mask. If you recognize the person on your screen, York Police want to hear from you.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says a bill on bail reform and getting tougher on crime is coming next week.
He used a stop today in our fair city's West End in Etobicoke to make this promise. It comes as well after repeated calls from premiers, including our Premier Doug Ford, the Toronto Police Association, and other police agencies, federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre too, calling on the Liberals to get tougher on crime and on criminals, in particular make bail harder to get. To that end, the PM says that one of his major proposals in this plan is to make the onus of being granted bail be reversed for some cases, falling on the accused, not the Crown.
Today, I'm announcing 2 major new measures that Canada's new government is taking to build safer communities for you and your loved ones. First, we're strengthening the criminal code to get tough on bail and sentencing, keeping violent criminals and repeat offenders off our streets and out of our communities. And second, we are investing in frontline law enforcement, hiring 1,000 new RCMP personnel to keep our country and communities safe.
The president of the Toronto Police Association joined us live this afternoon and says the communication with the Carney government has been an improvement over the previous government.
You're a phone call away from me. I can pick up the phone right now and call Sean Fraser So we're glad to see these changes. These were things that we specifically asked for. There's still some outstanding things around the Youth Criminal Justice Act, around parole, around sureties that we want to see implemented, but at least it's a step in the right direction to keep the members I so proudly represent safe and the communities that we serve safe as well.
But it's not universally getting a seal of approval. Shakir Rahim is with the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, and that group says that there are some concerns with the proposals from the Prime Minister.
I think we have to remember that bail is actually not that easy to obtain in Canada. The percentage of people in provincial jails denied bail has more than tripled in the past 50 years. And these new reverse onus provisions apply to offenses that are actually on the decline. So according to StatCan, for example, break and enter and motor vehicle theft are down nearly a third since 2010. So in our view, it doesn't make sense when these are the numbers we have.
And for more reaction to the changes coming to Canada's justice system, we are joined live by criminal defense lawyers Kim Schofield. Thank you, Kim, so much for joining us. What are your thoughts about this announcement?
Yes, so the announcement's not surprising, and it really doesn't change a lot. So there are many offenses currently that are reverse onus. And I would imagine that they will add some further offenses to that. So what reverse onus means is that it's up to the accused to show cause. And one of the ways that the accused shows cause is to call sureties. So somebody signs for them. And more often than not in these serious cases, electronic monitoring is added as part of the bail plan so that literally the police know exactly where somebody is. And I think that those really will be the major changes. So more sureties, higher bail amounts, and electronic monitoring.
Well, Kim, we right now already have, just talking about Ontario here, Ontario's provincial jails are roughly 70% full with people awaiting trial, either denied bail or still waiting for a bail hearing. So as much as this could potentially be helping keeping violent criminals potentially behind bars, could this have an effect on an already inundated penitentiary system?
So the detention centers, it is true, are overcrowded. So when I'm talking about reverse onus, which means the onus is then put on the accused for release, it doesn't necessarily mean it leads to more detention. So I think that that's the importance, is that the accused will have to put forward a more robust plan. So maybe use electronic monitoring more, have electronic monitoring as a mandatory provision in serious offenses, and therefore the police will know exactly where they are, and we can empty the detention centers of some of the people that would otherwise be releasable. And so this is a program that it's only been a couple years now that it is actually funded by the Solicitor General, so provincially funded. And I think that program is starting to be utilized a lot more and more efficiently. So the police will actually access systems so that you can tell where people are while on bail. So that may be used in these reverse onus provisions as well.
Thank you so much for this, Kim. Any other?
No, I think the ultimate thing, though, Kim, do you think this is going to make a big difference?
So I don't really think it does. So one of the way that bail provisions are looked at is we have three grounds: primary, secondary, tertiary. And so what the tertiary ground is public confidence in the administration of justice, and that's really what Mark Carney's talking about right now in reversing the onus, which is the public is fed up. Whether crime rates are actually increasing or not, which is another thing, there's a public perception that violent crime, especially robbery, home invasion, is increasing. So I think that the reverse onus is really a response to that. And I'm not sure it will make a difference at the end of the day, because serious violent offenses are difficult enough to get bail on in any event. I think it just really is sending a message more than actually having an actual effect on the ground.
thank you so much for this. Kim, we appreciate it. Kim Schofield is a criminal defense lawyer.
It's 5:21 right now, 15 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Up ahead, the Prime Minister says he has received assurances from the global head of Stellantis that there are options for the automaker's Brampton plant and support for the workers.
Welcome back to CP24. The Prime Minister is telling us that Stellantis has given him assurances that there is potentially a new model coming for the Brampton plant, but there won't be an announcement coming anytime soon.
The automaker dropped the bombshell earlier this week that it was going to shift Jeep production plan for Brampton to Illinois, and that means 3,000 jobs would head stateside. Carney says Stellantis won't likely make a final decision until an updated free trade deal between our country, the United States, and Mexico is finalized in the coming months.
I spoke with the global head of Stellantis 2 days ago. In advance of the announcement, I expressed disappointment on their decision to shift where the Jeep production was. I reminded the global CEO of those undertakings and that partnership that's been there. I received assurances from the global CEO of two things. One, that they're looking at different model being produced in Brampton.
Now, Stellantis had halted the prep work for the new Brampton line in February. That's when U.S. President Trump said he was putting a renewed focus on bringing auto production back to the United States.
Home sales may not dip as much this year as some had expected.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing from the Canadian Real Estate Association. They say that they're upgrading the national forecast for home sales to this year, 2025, and expecting now a softer 1.1% decline from last year. Activity continuing to rebound, but putting that in perspective, only slightly. Now, its forecast in July had predicted a 3% drop. September sales rose 5.2% from a year ago, listing 7.5% higher. So still a buyer's market out there in BC and Ontario. The only two provinces, by the way, forecasted to see declines in average home prices this year.
It's now 5:25 and 15 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, Andy Kim is being inducted into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. He said hello to us earlier on today. Really excited for this story. I love this song.
You just like the song.
I do. I just like the song. A smash hit, instantly recognizable, particularly to those who grew up in the 60s, unlike us, right, Arda?
But everybody knows this song.
Everyone knows this song because we like the Archies. Here's Andy Kim. Do, 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 do.
Told you, you know the song. He penned hits like this one. And this weekend, he's being installed as member of the Hall of Fame. Besides Sugar Sugar, Kim is also the musician behind the 1974 smash hit, Rock Me Gently. Kim joined CP24 Breakfast's GN Lee earlier today.
I don't have an explanation why people like something, you know? It's like, I just, and it's, what's fascinating for me is that it's been over 50 years, and it's become like happy birthday. So when I'm gone, there'll still be people singing Sugar Sugar.
Congrats to Andy Kim. 5:29, 15 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
The Jays will look to even up the best-of-7 American League Championship Series tonight against the Mariners in Seattle. We'll take you live to Seattle, where Melissa Duggan is standing by for a preview of Game 4. That's coming up next. We'll be right back.
The excitement is palpable. We are live in Seattle. The Jays getting ready to take on the Seattle Mariners in Game 4 of the ALCS after handedly defeating them last night in Game 3. Melissa Duggan standing by.
And a school zone safety summit at City Hall today. Concerned parents meet with the mayor and traffic safety experts while the province prepares to ban speed cameras.
And getting tough on crime, the Prime Minister says a bail reform bill is coming next week. This is Live at 5.
Hello, I'm Arda Zakarian.
And I'm Andrew Brennan. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. I'm much more on board with the rock montage when we're winning, and we won last night after a much-needed victory in Seattle last night. The Blue Jays are going to try to even up the series against the Mariners this evening.
And we're going to go to CP24's Melissa Duggan, who joins us live from Seattle with more on Game 4 of the ALCS. You know, they came out on top, even in enemy territory. How did that go, Melissa, when you were there?
Listen, the wind is back in the Jays' sails. 13 runs is what they scored last night, just head and shoulders above the 4 that the Mariners got in. Happening behind me right now, we're watching the Mariners doing some batting practice. A short time from now is when the Jays are going to be out here warming up for Game 4, looking to even up the series. It is a 7-game series, and the Jays are really in a good place now. And now that they're closing that gap, the Mariners, of course, getting the first 2 wins of this series. That happened back in Toronto on Jays home turf. Well, now the Jays winning here in Seattle. So giving a taste of their own medicine and looking for another win here tonight and looking ahead to Game 5, because that's what last night's win means. It means that we're going to be back here again for more baseball on Friday. So looking ahead to tonight, we were already hearing from the manager of the Mariners, Dan Wilson. We're going to hear from Jays manager John Schneider a little bit later on. But what Wilson is saying, kind of how he plans to rally his team back. Ideally, Jays fans don't want to see that happen. But here's what Wilson has to say.
Different guys do different things at different times. You know, Nails, since coming over, has been a leader for sure. But there's also other guys in there that have led, and they do such a great job. But it's a great culture in there. You know, I believe Polo said that they trust each other. They rely on each other, and that's the way that this group is. And you know, I think it's a group that has bounced back and has been resilient throughout the course of the year, and I think that's a big reason why. And yeah, again, that's why I just keep saying it's a very special group, and what they have in that clubhouse is very special.
So what do we attribute the success that the Jays had last night to? Well, there was a line in the Seattle Times that's really stood out. They're saying the bad news, that is the bad news for Mariners fans, is that the Jays showed us who they really are with that performance last night. Strong hitting, strong pitching, the team working well together from top to bottom of that lineup. You never know who is going to have that stellar play, and we just kind of saw stellar play after stellar play yesterday, hoping to have a replay of all of that here tonight. First pitch Toronto time, it is going to be at 8:33 p.m. Arda and Andrew, going to toss it back to you before all the action begins here.
Thank you so much for this, Melissa.
Yeah, and by the way, we're really excited to see the game, but also hear from Alejandro Kirk. He's speaking right now in Seattle. We can maybe listen in live.
That just kind of works for your guys' lineup?
Como equipo, hay algo en este parque que ustedes le trabaja porque obviamente tú sabes que esto no es conocido como un parque de bateadores y todos los últimos juegos que hemos estado aquí pues se han dado más de 10 hits y jonrones también. Algo que tú entiendes que como equipo ustedes pueden producir aquí.
Bueno, en realidad no sé qué sea la verdad, pero estamos aquí y bueno, tratar de repetir lo que hemos hecho, salir a ganar el día de hoy y bueno.
Be honest with you, I don't know what to tell you, but the only thing is we're just going to go out there today again, try to repeat what we have done on the past games here, and then hopefully it works out again.
Good. And Mike in the second row.
Alejandro, whether you guys win or lose tonight, tomorrow is going to be a very big game either way. We're assuming that Kevin Gausman is going to start, though it hasn't been announced yet, but watching him this year, seeing him so far in the playoffs, what is it about Kevin that gives you confidence when he's out on the mound?
Ganando o perdiendo hoy, como quiera, el juego de mañana es importante para nosotros. Hablando sobre eso, Kevin Gausman se supone que pichee por nosotros mañana. Él ha sido grande en los playoffs. ¿Qué tú ves de él? ¿Qué me puedes hablar de Kevin Gausman en los playoffs?
Bueno, lo ha hecho por mucho tiempo, ¿no? Lo ha hecho año tras año y bueno, el Kevin Gausman que hemos mirado estos últimos años, yo creo que lo ha hecho excelente. Yo creo que por eso es el número uno de nosotros ahorita mismo. Y bueno, tenemos toda la confianza en él. I
mean, he's been doing that for years already. I mean, that's why he's Kevin Gausman, one of the best. We have all the confidence on him, and that's why he's our ace.
And not to get too far ahead of ourselves again, but for the purposes of the writers who are writing ahead, what do you guys need to do differently against Bryce Miller tomorrow?
No quiere adelantarse mucho, pero nada más por los escritores. ¿Qué tú entiendes que el equipo debe hacer diferente contra Bryce Miller mañana?
Bueno, yo creo que ese primer juego tuvimos un poquito de mala suerte. Yo creo que seguir siendo los mismos, agresivos y bueno, yo creo que eso es lo más importante.
I think in that first game we were a little bit of bad luck too, but just be the same. Be attacking the zone, be aggressive. That's who we are, and we'll see what happens.
Got a shy in the third row.
Alejandro, how much different did it feel coming to
And we are listening to Alejandro Kirk talking to media in Seattle. We cannot wait. A little more than 2 hours left until first pitch. And let's check on the commute now with CP24's traffic specialist. All those people going to bars to catch the Jays game.
Well, it's going to take them a while. They're trying to get to said bar. We are dealing with so many problems, guys. So watching an ongoing situation. If you're on the 401, as a lot of drivers are, westbound on the 401, this is just as you make your way through Bathurst and the Express, the two left lanes out following this collision. If you're headed that way, do the smart thing, stick with the collectors. They're moving slowly, but at least they're moving. Those express lanes are not moving at all, really. Headed on the 403, we have problems westbound on the 403. This is right at here, Ontario. HOV lane blocked at the collision. And then for eastbound drivers on the 403, my camera went out, but it is a collision blocking the left lane as well as the left shoulder. And checking out the drive over on the Don Valley Parkway. It's improving. Still a bit busy, though. From north of Bayview, Blorsey continue all the way up to the 401. I'll send it back to you both.
Thanks very much, Adjoa. Well, I hope everyone gets to the bars as they need to. Okay.
Me too.
Yeah, but also we need to talk about safety on the road, so none of that involving your car. A summit, by the way, held today at City Hall addressing safety around particularly school zones. That's rather important with the Ford government getting ready to table legislation to get rid of all speed cameras in our province.
And for more on this, let's go live to our Sija Liu, who is in Scarborough. What more can you tell us, Sija?
Well, this was called a urgent school zone safety summit, and it's called urgent for a good reason, because if the province moves ahead with its plan, speed cameras in hundreds of school zones like this one in Scarborough could be removed by the end of the year. Lots of people were at the summit at City Hall this morning, including Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow, concerned parents, city councillors, researchers from Sick Kids Hospital and TMU, just to name a few. And their message was clear. People need to slow down or kids' lives are at risk. They held the summit today in order to get the Ford government's attention to try to sway his decision around speed cameras. His government is planning to table legislation next week that would ban speed cameras across the province. But today, everyone had that same message saying speed cameras are needed, particularly in school zones, to save lives. They even pointed to data they say that backs them up, including a recent research from Sick Kids Hospital and TMU that found speed cameras in school zones cut speeding by 45%. They also say serious injuries and fatalities on Toronto roads have gone down from 448 in 2018. That's when speed cameras were first installed, to 308 in 2024. But here's more from a parent whose child was hit by a car, along with a TMU researcher at today's summit. Take a listen.
He's used the term cash grab. I've also heard him use a tax. I mean, this is not a tax. People have a choice in the sense that if they break the law, they're paying a fine. To slow down is an easy thing. If you know that you're around a school, if you're in an area that has speed cameras, you slow down and then you won't get dinged, and there's no cash that's being spent on obeying the law, basically.
I'm a mom of a child who was hit by a car during Thanksgiving weekend.
It happened in a school zone, and luckily there were speed cameras on that street. And to our great luck, and thankfully to the cameras, our child was not severely injured. After spending like 4 hours of stress in ER, we discovered he didn't sustain any serious injuries. He was fine. So his life and his well-being was saved by the cameras on that street.
And the province is still not backing down on its plan to ban speed cameras. It also plans to set up a fund that will fund alternative measures such as speed bumps, roundabouts, things like that to stop speeders. But advocates say, those are great options, but they don't scare away speeders the same way a speed camera would. So today, all these people getting together, the mayor, city councilors, parents, researchers, are hoping to just amplify their message in hopes Premier Doug Ford will listen to them and change course on their plan to ban automated speed cameras. Arda, Andrew?
That's Sija Liu in Scarborough for us tonight. We appreciate you, Sija. Thank you.
Now coming up, the family of a baby and grandparents that were killed in a wrong-way crash have filed a lawsuit. We'll
Stay
be right
on
back.
CP24. Welcome back to CP24. The family of an infant and grandparents who died in a wrong-way crash on the 401 have now filed a lawsuit.
In April of 2024, the family was driving on the 401 in Whitby when their vehicle was hit head-on by a U-Haul van that was being pursued by Durham police. The driver of the van, Gagandeep Singh, was also killed. The baby's parents, Gokulnath Minivanan and Ashwitha Jawahar, survived the crash. They are now suing Singh's estate, the Durham Police Board, and Sergeant Richard Flynn and Constable Brandon Hamilton. The lawsuit alleges that the officers exercised negligent and reckless judgment when they decided to pursue Singh's vehicle in the wrong direction on the highway. It also claims the board failed to provide adequate or any training to officers regarding the pursuits. The officers were also charged with criminal negligence causing death. The criminal charges against the two officers have not been tested in court.
A 15-year-old girl has been injured in a hit and run in North York. According to police, they say that the teen was struck while riding an e-scooter last night just before 11 p.m. This in the Bayview and Heathcote area, just north of York Mills. The injuries, we're told, are now considered non-life-threatening. Police say that the driver, though, did not remain on scene, and they have no vehicle description for us.
Stats Canada is out with a new report on hate and cybercrime.
According to this report, there have been 945 police-reported hate crimes in Ontario. This in the first half of the year alone. That's 130 fewer than the same time period last year. According to this data, though, more than 45% of these incidents were motivated by race or ethnicity, about 30% motivated by religion. Nationally, there were more than 2,200 hate crimes reported to police in the first half of the year. That's down just 3 incidents from the same time period in 2024.
Meanwhile, cybercrime appears to be on the rise in Ontario. There were more than 12,500 cases reported to police in the first half of the year, up 135 from the same period last year. Nearly 50% of these incidents were fraud-related. Nationally, there were more than 40,000 cases of cybercrime reported to police, a drop of nearly 350.
Turning now to the west end of our city, Prime Minister Mark Carney in Etobicoke saying a bill targeting bail reform and getting tougher on crime is coming next week.
He used a stop in Etobicoke to make the promise. It comes after repeated calls from Premier Doug Ford and federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to get tougher on crime and criminals, and in particular to make bail harder to get. To that end, the Prime Minister says one of his major proposals will make the onus of being granted bail fall on the accused and not the Crown.
Today, I'm announcing 2 major new measures that Canada's new government is taking to build safer communities for you and your loved ones. First, we're strengthening the criminal code to get tough on bail and sentencing, keeping violent criminals and repeat offenders off our streets and out of our communities. And second, we are investing in frontline law enforcement, hiring 1,000 new RCMP personnel to keep our country and communities safe.
All right, let's bring in our crime analyst, Steve Ryan, for a closer look at this. Steve, what do you think, just looking at the bare bones of this, of what's proposed, what are you thinking right now?
Sentencing is good when it comes to harsher sentences for those who are convicted of violent crimes. That could act as a deterrent for others that may commit those offenses. When it comes to bail, I've said this for a long time, and I get this from a lot of police leaders that I talk with when I'm out working, and that is that there is a bail system right now that can work and is workable. It's just not being enforced the way it should. So there is still crown onus, reverse onus, tertiary grounds being what would the public think if this person was released. Well, we're seeing that time and time again when it comes to people being released. And I'm hearing that a lot of it has to do with the fact that our jails are at overcapacity.
Do you think this reverse onus is going to make a difference?
There's already a reverse onus in the criminal code for accused if the criteria is met. So I don't think any of the bail stuff, if you will, is going to make that great of a difference. I think the sentencing will, if in fact they can get tougher sentences for those that are convicted of serious criminal offenses. But there are already grounds in place for the Crown to argue protection of the public, repetition of the offense, court establishing evidence, and there already is a reverse onus aspect in bail as it is. If there's nowhere to house them, they're going to be back out in the streets. And I do think that that's a problem that certainly has not been addressed the way it should be as of today.
And just looking a little bit on that, Steve, on the one hand, you do have people that, you always say perception is reality so much of the time. And you have people that their perception is that there's all of these violent offenders that are constantly being let out of jail or being released on bail without being properly punished for the crimes that people think that they've committed. But on the flip side, we have jails that are roughly, at this point, in Ontario alone, about 70% of the people in jail in Ontario are currently waiting for trial or even a bail hearing, or they've been denied bail. That's more than half of the prisoners in Ontario that are already, they have been denied bail, or they're waiting for a trial. So do we have room for more people even?
See, From what I'm hearing, there's not a lot of room in the detention centers right now. And you look at the work environment for those correctional workers who do God's work in those facilities, that's a terrible working environment for them as well. And you look at the overcapacity when it comes to marginalized communities, it comes to mental health, and people are stuck in that system, and it takes too long for things to come to trial. System gets clogged up, and then we have violent offenders who should be the ones being detained are being released. So I don't see how, although this is good news if you're looking at enhancing community safety, I don't think this is the magic pill that's going to fix this problem. We need to either clear out our system now or make the jails bigger. Nobody wants to admit that they want to make bigger detention centers. And we need to really focus on the violent offenders, keeping those in custody, and maybe those that are in custody right now for nonviolent offenses. There should be another reconsideration perhaps as to what should be done with them.
What are your thoughts on this as a former member of the Toronto Police, as a former homicide detective?
Well, again, anytime you can enhance community safety, that's a good thing. But sometimes I think we can be not misled, but perceive things as happening one way with talk. And I think a lot of this is what's being said today with regards to bail improvements. It's already there. We already have a good bail system in place. It's just not being enforced. And I think a lot of that has to do with, again, as we talked about, the overcapacity in our system.
Steve, thank you so much for this. We appreciate it. We'll chat again soon. And we're following a developing story in Oshawa where Durham Regional Police are investigating the death of a male.
Yeah, Chopper 24 has been over the scene live right now, by the way, in the Simcoe Street and McGregor Street area. Police responded to a call for unknown trouble when they say they found a man who they're describing having obvious signs of trauma. They have been pronounced deceased as well. Keep it here on CP24. We're following this developing story, and we will bring you the news when we got it.
It's 5:53 right now, 15 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Are the Blue Jays, Team Canada, are they Canada's? Yes? Okay,
Yes.
Well, that just ruins the point of this
Sorry,
throw to break.
sorry.
We'll tell you more later.
Welcome back. As the Blue Jays playoff run continues, Angus Reid has been checking in on their popularity and asking if they are really Canada's team.
You said they were. So
absolutely.
Art is right. But just to make sure that she's in line with the science, we are joined live now by Dave Krasinski. He is the research director at the Angus Reid Institute. Oh, Dave, you prepared well for this interview. Look at you.
So did we.
Yeah, we did.
So did we.
Look at our matchy blue. We did great. But
yeah, I'm very ready to go. That's actually, my dad got me that signed John Olerud jersey. I was 7 and then 8 when we won the World Series last time, and these are both jerseys from that era. So we're trying to turn back the clock.
Well, speaking of clocks, actually just circles, because I want to put it on a pie chart. So how many Canadians think that the Blue Jays are Canada's team?
Well, it's about, it depends where you ask, which is about what we anticipated is kind of what led us to ask this. But so it's 48% nationally. But there's quite a range. If you ask people in Saskatchewan, 75% say, yeah, the Blue Jays are Canada's team. If you ask them in Ontario, 52%. 34% of all Canadians and Ontario residents, same number, say no, they're Toronto's team. So there's a bit of a battle for who gets to own the Blue Jays. In the GTA, it's a little bit higher, 43%, the highest mark, as you might imagine, anywhere in the country is in Toronto, where people are just saying, it's our backyard, they're our team. But, the largest group do say, yeah, this is Canada's team. And I think that will grow as we hopefully win some more games here and maybe get another series.
I've been seeing some people that used to work in radio in Montreal, or for instance, run the Twitter account for the now defunct Montreal Expos. Do you think that specific regions where they've either had a team or they're really close to Windsor is close to Detroit? Are we seeing those areas where they're less believing that it's a Canada team versus Toronto's team?
Yeah. Yeah, Quebec is actually the most likely to say, we don't want you. 48%. So 14 points higher in Quebec than in Ontario say, it's Toronto's team. So they're not necessarily interested in the idea of, the nationalist thing that we're trying to get going here with Blue Jays fans across the country. So about half in Quebec. But that's the one that really stands out. It's, pretty consistent in a lot of places where about half of people say, yeah, this is Canada's team, and then about 1 in 3 say it's Toronto's team. 1 in 10 say it's Ontario's team, which feels like the weirdest choice that you could make, and a very small number do. But that's also an option.
I, too, have a John Olerud baseball that's signed. I don't think it was actually signed by him. I think it was just a photocopy, but I just had to say that. So the Montreal, I guess Quebecers still have dreams that the Expos will come back. Sorry for them. But tell us, thank you. Well, I should say just thank you so much for joining us, Dave. We appreciate it. Dave Krasinski is the research director at the Angus Reid Institute. Thank you.
I wish we could talk more about that. I know, but we got to stick to time. It's 5:59 right now, 15 degrees outside, and you're watching Toronto's breaking news CP24. And we have CTV News at 6 next, and Jay's coverage all night. Don't go anywhere.